Man, I lost it. I really lost it when she made that statement. Let's take a look behind the scenes and see what they're up to right now. And I'm telling you, I'm so pissed off. Have you bought any ibuprofen or even aspirin or something like that lately? Do you need that? Then I'd be careful. I would definitely listen to this video until the end if you plan to go to the pharmacy again in the next few weeks or months. Maybe to buy yourself some medication that you really need. And when it comes to important medications, we don't even want to talk about that. If you want to support this channel, I would really appreciate a like and a subscription. We're taking a look at the disaster with healthcare here in Germany. And I'm telling you, I really dug into this, including in Europe, and I felt sick during this research. It's only there now, well, to drive us up against the wall. And well, I can't even say it.
Well, there is a great need for action. In long-term care insurance, we're seeing a really rapidly increasing number of people in need of care.
I would say that in 2020, you never had any problems getting medication, for example. And then they just let all these pharmaceutical companies phase out. The best offer wins. And by now, they're raising the prices so much that maybe we should start thinking about care. Yeah, but what do old people actually get? Well, most of the time they get medication. And there's a really huge margin where big corporations and also the Chinese, 80% of all antibiotics come from China. And exactly from there, where things aren't so clean, where we don't even get CE certifications, that's where most of the antibiotics come from. Because here in Germany, we don't even produce it anymore and we have to buy it at ridiculously high prices. Please mention that, Ms. Workin, before you sugarcoat things for people here. I really have to say it like that. Yes, we need these reforms. Above all, we need some structure here in Germany again. We urgently, I mean, really urgently need independent supply in Europe, which is no longer guaranteed. In the event of a global war, well, what about our sick people? Then I guess long-term care insurance is still put on the back burner.
The expenses are rising rapidly. Next year, we have a deficit of 7.5 billion that we need to close. And the contribution rate have also continued to rise in recent years.
Yes, I wonder what the reason for that might be and how it could perhaps be done much better and much more cheaply. I did some research. In 2010, now hold on to your seats, we spent 20 billion on medication. In 2010, we outsourced 80% to China and we paid twice as much, so 40 billion euros. And now hold on, last year, and please don't fall off your chair, we spent over 60 billion euros just on medication. And if we were to make cuts there, for example, by producing in Hungary again or somewhere like that, we could really reduce expenses nicely without continuing to make people suffer. But now the EU has caught on to that as well. But what do you call that thing with the slow ship again? Yeah, that has to be turned around first so that maybe someday we'll be able to achieve self-sufficiency in medications again. You still remember, right? The time when everyone was supposed to get vaccinated? There was enough vaccine for everyone, but not Nurofen or painkillers. And that's when we saw that this system is so extremely bloated that we have to pay a really high price for it. And yes, of course, nobody talks about that, which really makes me angry, especially because I need medication and so many people out there do too. But yes, we first have to take even more away from people because we're no longer able to produce our own medication.
But on the other hand, and that's also important to me, it ensures that care for people actually improves. We also want to put a stronger focus on prevention, so avoiding the need for care and maintaining a longer, healthy life.
Well, is that really the case? There's the CMA, which is currently working to ensure that medications are produced in Europe again, partly because there's fear of a trade war with China. And now suddenly they're saying, well, we can't really start the cost-cutting spiral yet, but we have a fantastic deal for you. Now, hold on tight. No matter how much the medications cost in Europe, they're supposed to be produced in Europe again as quickly as possible. Dear Ms. Walken, you probably didn't take that into account yet when you told us all of this. And regarding the topic that we are promoting a better, longer life, I don't really believe that either. Or why, yes, is it actually the case that more and more people are suffering from serious illnesses? And in my perception, it's only been like this since 2019, 2020, that more and more people have serious illnesses that, among other things, can shorten a life through pain.
and bundle the access. And for that, we have now presented a draft law with which we want to stabilize the system on the one hand, make it future proof, but also not lose sight of the care for people.
Well, I don't really believe yet that the system will be stabilized. In the Czech Republic, for example, in Poland or in Hungary, they still produce their medicines themselves. By the way, we were there, but shh, nobody's supposed to know that. Yeah, during the corona times, it wasn't exactly, let's say, legal to travel everywhere in Europe, but there were a lot of countries that just didn't care about that. The Netherlands also always had quite a lot of medication there. Only in Germany, you basically, yeah, always stood in the pharmacies and said, yeah, but I need fever medicine for my children. Yeah, we can't give them what we don't have. Yeah, not that I get in trouble afterwards. By the way, we bought medicine there and we were able to get it everywhere. And now the EU has decided, especially after Donald Trump attacked Macron so much, that we're not just building more pharmaceutical companies, we're also building more storage facilities here in Europe. And Germany, well, Germany is still pretty much staying out of it for now. And what she also said about supply security, we should start with the lowest common denominator and not just wait until it comes to distributing the money. That's when we have to intervene. I think we should really start right at the grassroots and actually take action here and say we need pharmaceutical companies that produce aspirin and things like that and not just talk about it. Well, medicines that either nobody needs or are just incredibly expensive for people to use. And she already mentioned that in her hospital reform, meaning people who soon won't be able to get any help. And those people aren't really supposed to be cared for anymore. They should just give up their homes to relieve the burden on the municipalities.
The reactions were definitely that even more people will say they have to go to the social welfare office.
We contribute in various ways to prevent people's out of pocket costs from increasing further, for example, by also adjusting the benefits of long term care insurance.
And once again, you can see from this issue that Europe is the land of consumers. Europe, yes, is gradually abolishing itself. By the way, you can look this up at europa.eu, so procurement of medicines. Feel free to take a look at it. Once again, you can see that the whole race everywhere, also in Europe, is happening once again without Germany. In Germany, people are worried that if the law now, well, comes into effect, there will be even more people who have to go to social services because, in fact, they can no longer refinance their lives. And by the way, what else do you have to add to that? If in the future you can no longer afford your medication or your health insurance, yeah, it could even go so far that your landlord will be contacted. And yes, the woman or the man, yes, now have to receive social assistance because actually something else comes together. And exactly at this point, yes, nothing is being done. Nothing is being done to actually reduce the costs. While in Ukraine, for example, yes, pensions are rising. Germany is going out with a zero increase. While in other countries, medications are paid for, or even Germany pays for family insurance in other countries, here in Germany, it is being eliminated. All that this policy still has left for you is that now you also have to give up your own home, yes, in the future, to pay for your medications and your health insurance or your care. And that's what you worked your whole life for. Goodbye, business.